The year 2025 began with the promise of new beginnings, hopes, and dreams for many. However, just as the world was settling into a sense of optimism, it was rocked by a devastating shock. On January 1st, the name Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, was all over the news, but not for the reasons anyone had hoped. The 35-year-old leader narrowly escaped an assassination attempt that would shake the political landscape of Burkina Faso and reverberate throughout Africa. The news spread like wildfire, sending waves of disbelief and anxiety both within and outside the African continent. A fresh chapter of hope and change had been overshadowed by violence, threats, and uncertainty. This wasn't just an assassination attempt. It was a direct challenge against a man who had made powerful enemies by defying the status quo. But what drove the attack on Ibrahim Traoré? Who stood to gain from his downfall? And what does this mean for the future of Burkina Faso and Africa as a whole? Before we dive deeper into this story and explore the complex web of factors surrounding the assassination attempt, be sure to subscribe to the African Web and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on updates about African leadership. To fully understand the gravity of the situation, we must first explore Ibrahim Traoré's rise to power and the remarkable journey that led him to become one of Africa's most promising young leaders. His story is one of resilience, vision, and defiance against foreign influence, a narrative that resonates with the struggles faced by many African nations today. When Traoré assumed the presidency in 2022, Burkina Faso was in turmoil, grappling with political instability, extreme poverty, and an insurgency from militant groups. The country had faced mounting challenges for years, with a rapidly deteriorating security situation and widespread disillusionment with the government. But then, Ibrahim Traoré stepped into the role of president with a fresh, untainted perspective. He wasn't part of the political establishment, and he wasn't motivated by the usual politics of appeasing foreign powers or elites. Instead, Traoré came to the presidency with a singular vision: to bring Burkina Faso back to its roots and empower its people. His leadership offered something different, a beacon of hope. His vision was one of sovereignty, independence, and self-determination. Traoré spoke candidly about his desire to end the cycles of exploitation that had defined Burkina Faso's relationships with foreign powers for decades. The country's natural resources, including its vast gold reserves, had been plundered for years by multinational corporations and foreign governments, leaving the people of Burkina Faso to suffer in poverty. Traoré's approach was not about making deals with foreign interests, but about putting the welfare of his people first. At just 35 years old, Traoré became the youngest president of Burkina Faso, quickly emerging as a symbol of resistance. His defiance of the French colonial legacy and his outspoken stance on national sovereignty catapulted him onto the world stage. However, his bold vision also attracted powerful enemies, particularly from forces that have benefited from Africa's exploitation for centuries. The assassination attempt wasn't a random act of violence. It was a calculated attempt to remove a leader who posed a direct challenge to the established order. The attempt on Traoré's life should not be seen in isolation. To truly understand the motivations behind it, we need to look at the broader political and economic landscape in which he operates. Ibrahim Traoré's leadership is grounded in the principles of Pan-Africanism and self-reliance. These principles directly challenge the colonial power structures that still exert a profound influence over many African nations, especially in West Africa. Traoré's political vision for Burkina Faso involved a return to the country's roots, taking control of its resources and ensuring that its wealth would benefit its people, not foreign powers. His decision to nationalize the country's mining industry, particularly its gold sector, and expel French military forces sent shockwaves through the international community. France had long dominated Burkina Faso's gold industry, reaping the benefits while leaving the local population mired in poverty. But Traoré didn't stop there. His broader vision was to break free from the stranglehold of Western influence altogether. His government pursued self-reliance, focusing on sustainable development, economic independence, and creating local industries that would serve the nation's needs. This vision of a self-sufficient Burkina Faso, and by extension, a self-sufficient Africa, posed a direct threat to the interests of former colonial powers who have long profited from Africa's resources. The broader context of Burkina Faso's history and political landscape cannot be overlooked when examining the assassination attempt on Ibrahim Traoré. Burkina Faso, like many African countries, has a history of military coups, often resulting from internal power struggles and external influences. The country has experienced a series of political upheavals, and Traoré's leadership represented a break from the political elites, who have often been complicit in maintaining the status quo. Traoré's rise to power is particularly significant given the ongoing wave of political change across West Africa. Countries like Mali, Niger, and Guinea have experienced similar shifts toward anti-colonial sentiments, challenging the influence of former colonial powers, particularly France. These countries are slowly but surely rejecting the old order and embracing a new vision for the future, one that is centered on African unity, Pan-Africanism, and a rejection of foreign dominance. Burkina Faso, under Traoré's leadership, has become a symbol of this movement. The assassination attempt on Traoré is a direct result of the challenges posed by this emerging political climate. His bold stance against France, along with his efforts to reposition Burkina Faso as a leader in the Pan-African movement, has made him a target for those who wish to see Africa remain under the control of external forces. The forces behind the assassination attempt may be connected to interests that benefit from the status quo, such as multinational corporations, former colonial powers, or even factions within the military that fear losing their influence. As we examine the significance of this attack, it becomes clear that the ramifications go beyond Burkina Faso. Traoré's leadership has the potential to inspire a new generation of African leaders who are committed to ending the cycle of exploitation and embracing a vision of self-reliance and independence. The assassination attempt represents a desperate attempt to quash this movement before it gains further momentum. But will it succeed? The story of Ibrahim Traoré is still unfolding, and its impact will continue to reverberate throughout Africa. Will the assassination attempt succeed in silencing his vision, or will it become a rallying cry for the people of Burkina Faso and the wider African continent? One thing is certain, the struggle for Africa's future is far from over. The people of Burkina Faso are rallying behind their leader, demonstrating their unwavering support for the vision of a free, self-sufficient Africa. The challenges ahead are undoubtedly significant, but the spirit of resistance is stronger than ever. Traoré's leadership offers hope for a brighter future, one where African nations take their rightful place in the global community, independent of foreign influence and exploitation. Will his vision of self-reliance and Pan-Africanism succeed in the face of these mounting challenges? And what does this assassination attempt mean for the broader fight for African sovereignty? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the African Web for more in-depth discussions on African leadership, politics, and the challenges facing the continent. We'll be continuing to cover the latest developments on this crucial issue, so make sure you stay tuned.